Matty was no longer a boy, but not yet a man. Sometimes, standing outside the home place, he measured himself against the window. Once he stood only to its sill, his forehead there, pressing into the wood. But now he was so tall he could see inside without effort. Or, moving back in the high grass, he could see himself reflected in the glass pane. His face was becoming manly, he thought. Though childishly, he still enjoyed making faces, scowls, and frowns at his own reflection. His voice was deepening. He lived with the blind man, the one they called Seer, and helped him. He cleaned the home place, though cleaning bored him. The man said it was necessary, so Matty swept the wooden floor each day and straightened the bed covers neatly on the man's bed with haphazard indifference on his own. In the room next to the kitchen, they shared the cooking. The man laughed at Matty's concoctions and tried to teach him, but Matty was impatient and didn't care about the subtlety of herbs. "We can just put it all together in the pot," Matty insisted. "It all goes together in our bellies anyway." It was a long-standing and friendly argument. Seer chuckled. "Smell this," he said, and held out a pale green shoot that he'd been chopping. Matty sniffed dutifully. "Onion," he said, and shrugged. "We can just throw it in." "Or," he added, "we don't even need to cook it. But then our breath stinks. There's a girl. Promised she'd kiss me if I had sweet breath. But I think she's teasing." The blind man smiled in the boy's direction. "Teasing is part of the fun that comes before kissing," he told Matty, whose face had flushed pink with embarrassment. "You could trade for a kiss," the blind man suggested with a chuckle. "What would you give? Your fishing pole?" Don't joke about the trading. You're right, I shouldn't. It used to be a light-hearted thing, but now, you're right, Matty. It's not to be laughed at anymore. My friend Ramon went to the last trade mart with his parents. He said, but he won't talk about it." "We won't then either. Is the butter melted in the pan?" Matty looked. The butter was bubbling slightly and golden brown. "Yes." "Add the onion, then. Stir it so it doesn't burn." Matty obeyed. "Now smell that," the blind man said. Matty sniffed. The gently sautéing onion released an aroma that made his mouth water. "Better than raw?" Seer asked. "But a bother," Matty replied impatiently. "Cooking's a bother." "Add some sugar. Just a pinch or two. Let it cook for a minute, and then we'll put in the rabbit." "Don't be so impatient, Matty. You always want to rush things, and there's no need." "I want to go out before night comes. I have something to check. I need to eat supper and get out there to the clearing before it's dark." The blind man laughed. He picked up the rabbit parts from the table, and as always, Matty was amazed at how sure his hands were, how he knew just where things had been left. He watched while the man deftly patted flour onto the pieces of meat and then added the rabbit to the pan. The aroma changed when the meat sizzled next to the softened onion. The man added a handful of herbs. "It doesn't matter to you if it's dark or light outside," Matty told him, scowling. "But I need the daylight to look at something." "What something is that?" Seer asked, then added, "When the meat has browned, add some broth so it doesn't stick to the pan." Matty obeyed, tilting into the pan the bowl of broth in which the rabbit had been boiled earlier. The dark liquid picked up chunks of onion and chopped herbs and swirled them around the pieces of meat. He knew to put the lid on now and to turn the fire low. The stew shimmered, and he began to set the plates on the table where they would have their supper together. He hoped the blind man would forget that he had asked what something. He didn't want to tell. Matty was puzzled by what he had hidden in the clearing. It frightened him, not knowing what it meant. He wondered for a moment whether he could trade it away. When finally the supper dishes were washed and put away, and the blind man sat in the cushioned chair and picked up the stringed instrument that he played in the evening, Matty inched his way to the door, hoping to slip away unnoticed. But the man heard everything that moved. Matty had known him to hear a spider scurry from one side of its web to another. Off to forest again? Matty sighed. No escaping. I'll be back by dark. Could be, but light the lamp in case you're late. After dark, it's nice to have window light to aim for. I remember what forest was like at night. Remember from when? The man smiled. From when I could see, long before you were born. Were you scared of forest? Matty asked him. So many people were, and with good reason. No, it's all an illusion. Matty frowned. He didn't know what the blind man had meant. Was he saying that fear was an illusion, or that force was? He glanced over. The blind man was rubbing the polished wooden side of his instrument. With a soft cloth. His thoughts had turned to the smooth wood, though he couldn't see the golden maple with its curly grain. Maybe Matty thought everything was an illusion to a man who had lost his eyes. Matty lengthened the wick and checked the lamp to be certain there was oil. Then he struck a match. But now you're glad I made you clean the soot from the lamp chimneys, aren't you? The blind man didn't expect an answer. He moved his fingers on the strings, listening for the tone. Carefully as he did most evenings, he tuned the instrument. He could hear variations in sound that seemed to the boy to be all the same. Matty stood in the doorway for a moment, watching. On the table, the lamp flickered. The man sat with his head tilted toward the window so that the summer early evening light outlined the scars on his face. He listened, then turned a small screw on the back of the instrument's wooden neck, then listened again. Now he was concentrating on the sounds and had forgotten the boy. Matty slipped away.